It says we're live. Before I go live, I always like to check it on the Facebook to make sure I'm not wasting my guests' time. My guests are pretty important people. Um, yep, sounds pretty good. I've had this guest on several times. This is not her first entree into being on a podcast in the video, so she understands how this goes. I'm going to keep her for a while. We're going to have some fun, catch up on life, and you know what's really weird? Every time I do this, I don't know why. I've said her name 1,000 times. I get nervous before I say it, but I'm going to try it. Here we go. And then we're going to talk. Initially, we're going to talk time travel. That's going to be the first topic at hand with Zuz Foldiova. Here she comes. 3, 2, 1. Zuz, did I get it right?
Yes, you got it right. Good job.
I got to be honest. I think you're at a point now where you'd be like, if I said Barbara Smith, you'd be like, yeah, Clint, whatever. Let's just move
Yeah,
on.
whatever.
You don't give a shit that much, buddy.
No, you're good. You're good.
All right. So let's just tell everybody right now, you are not in the United States. Tell everybody where you are, kind lady.
No, I'm actually in Slovakia, which is in the middle of Europe.
Yeah. If you have a map, there is life outside the United States, dear Americans. I'm just letting you know there's people that live fun and fulfilled lives that are not inside the United States. And the reason I said the time travel issue is every time I reach out to you, because of my public educated brain here in the United States, I forget or don't know what time it is where you live. It's 2:06 p.m. here. What time is it there?
It's 8:06 p.m. here, so 6 hours ahead.
And we have a friend I met through Chastity Snowden, and we'll talk more about that because that's how I met you, is through the FLA movement with Chastity Snowden. But I met you via Chastity and Renee, who is she still in Australia, right?
Yeah, she's Australian. Yeah.
And you were in Australia. The reason I brought up the time travel is it freaks me out that we can have people in just different parts of the day. But if you go to Australia, there's actually a chance you'll miss a day. You'll just skip a day of your life.
Definitely, especially depends on what part of the world you go from. I think you guys have it even worse because it's literally, it's probably, if
I'm gonna look it up.
My time difference to Sydney is 8 hours, so they're 8 hours ahead. I think yours is 14 if I'm doing the math right.
Yeah, it's 4:07 a.m. right now.
Yeah. So it's that's crazy.
Yeah, 4:07 a.m. But here's the crazy part.
Next day.
Thursday, August 17th. Right now.
Yeah.
It's I don't understand. It's
just one of those things. Like when I used to travel to Sydney, it was like you leave on one day and then you literally lose a day.
Yeah.
Because the travel is 24 hours at least, right? So you literally lose a day and you just leave on the 10th and all of a sudden it's the 12th. Like, where did the time go?
I don't know. And
I've been cheated on. Like, what's going on?
And at the point I have to start doing math for travel, I'm just not going to go. If I have to start dividing by 2, carry the 1, I'm done. I'm out. I can't do it.
Luckily enough, wherever you go these days, you just open up your phone and it just adjusts automatically, right? So
your body doesn't adjust it. How long does it take?
Yeah, that doesn't.
Well, the real question, because I've traveled to Jamaica from where I'm at, but that's a flight. I'm there the same day. I'm there the afternoon. How does your body recover? I mean, doesn't it take you a minute to adjust?
Also depends if you go forward or backwards. Like, that's different too.
No, it's not. It's not.
It is.
It is not.
It is. So when I travel from here, for example, when I traveled to the States this year, it was easier to adjust going from here there because I'm gaining time, right? So it was it took a couple days and I was fine. Coming back, it took a little bit more because I lost time. And it was the same when I went to Australia, like that jet lag, because that's literally the other way around, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have night when it's supposed to be day. Like that took a good week or so to get adjusted.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine that he said, well, man, if you stay hydrated, you'll be fine. I'm like, really? That's the key? I mean, that's the key for everything, but just drinking water is going to fix time travel. I don't think so.
Just power through it.
That's it. Just power, especially when you know you're going someplace that's fun and that you want to be at. Yeah. So I did meet you through Chastity. So let's book in the conversation through that connection. You're a coach with FLA Movement with Chastity Snowden. Tell everybody what that means, what that looks like, and then I'll just ask you a bunch of fun questions.
Sweet. So we're a nutrition coaching company, basically. That's what it started. That's what it mainly is. But it's not just like basically teaching people or doing people's macronutrients and calories. It's also about giving them education. So we have a 16-week programs basically where we teach you how to obviously eat, what to eat for your particular goals, but also teach about habits as well, because that basically goes hand in hand, right? So it's not about the food, it's also about the quality of your sleep, it's about the quality of your life. And like people going through the program, yes, it initially starts as, I want to lose weight or I want to gain weight or whatever the goal is.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, like it turns into so much more because they work on their, like for themselves as a whole thing, not just like, okay,
Well,
I've lost 20
they
pounds.
take stuff away from it that apply to their life. Maybe if they
Yeah,
don't do coaching for the rest of their life, they learn something that they can apply.
literally. So
Yeah.
I've had clients who within those 16 weeks change their lives, meaning they would literally like change their jobs, move to, I had one that moved to Florida, completely like transformed basically his life, lost weight, lost some fat, gained some weight, basically muscle mass, because that was his goal. Completely different person and completely new person. So it
Mhm.
wasn't just about the physical, but also everything else.
Yeah, I've asked this of you, and we'll cover some of the ground that we may have covered over the past conversations, but that's okay. People need to hear stuff more than
That's
once, and we always have new listeners. Um, a lot of what you do ends up being, like you said, initially it's around the calories, the macros, the habits, but a lot of it ends up being therapy because a lot of the
fine.
reasons, and I know you're not a therapist, but a lot of the reasons Clint's gained weight in his life, or a lot of the reasons Clint's been unhealthy, is because of other stuff that I've not unpacked over here. And the food is really just my coping mechanism. It's not the problem as much.
Yeah, you can say it's a symptom
Yeah.
basically of whatever is going on. So, and like a lot of people come from many attempts, unsuccessful attempts of losing weight. So it's just like they've tried almost everything and nothing really worked. I mean, just you just go online, Google a diet, and basically you can find whatever you want. The problem is it does never stick
Mhm.
because it never really teaches you how to work with yourself. So you mentioned that we're therapists.
Yeah.
Kind of we are, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because a lot of it comes from, like it, those are conversations with people, and we over the with a lot of the clients, like we literally become friends because we just learn about each other so much that it's just yeah, you can't avoid it.
Well, in therapy, if you think about it, and this is the way I have to make sense of things, if you think about it, when I go to therapy for some reason, it's my relationship either with God or my relationship with my spouse or my boyfriend or girlfriend or my kids or myself. It's that the word relationship is the key amongst all of them. Our relationship with our food, relationship with what we watch on internet, our relationship with what we put into our brains, how we spend our free time, it's a relationship with all those little squishy things that we can't really measure, right? So how I see food, my relationship with food is a relationship
Exactly.
and my
Yeah. And
activity.
yes, and throughout the life, it might have been affected by a lot of things, right?
Absolutely.
Depending on what diets you tried. Like people don't realize how much stress actually affects your body
Mhm.
and your weight itself, right? Stressful time in your life, like stress itself is going to hold on a little bit more, and you're like, why am I gaining weight? Well, because this and this is going on with your life, but I haven't changed anything in my diet. Well, but this and this is going on,
Yeah,
right?
you've not been sleeping as well. You stop
Yeah,
moving as much. You're not drinking the water. You've got the chronic pain from the cortisol releases. Next thing you know, you're 10, 15, 20 pounds up. And you're
exactly.
like,
And you feel swollen and you feel gross
and
and
you're
you
eating
feel just like,
kale. Ugh, damn. If
yeah,
I'm
it
gaining
is
weight
that.
and eating
Why?
kale, screw it.
That's another thing, right? Like people think that dieting has to be some sort of like that it's a horrible thing, right?
Punishment. Yeah.
Because like you're not allowed to eat your favorite foods. They won't allow you to eat donuts, right? They won't allow you to eat cake or you can't have chocolate. But that's not true. Like with a good program or with enough knowledge about food, you can have all your favorite things, obviously within, not like 10 donuts, but you can still have your favorite things and still being able to lose weight. And that's what happens every single time with our people.
If they stick with it. I'll give you a
If
great
the,
example. I've watched this in real life, and my daughter is 19. She's in college, and she's now changing her major probably to be a nutritionist.
Mhm.
Uh, in a year and a half, I have what now my daughter's always been an athlete. She's been one of the stars on a softball team. She loves basketball. I mean, if you're going to play something against my daughter, we don't play, we win. That's her philosophy. I'm not playing, I'm winning,
Love
Dad. That's oh,
it.
she is and my son's the same way. He's just they're different mindsets. But I watched my son lose 100 pounds, and as he's an athlete. But I watched my daughter the last year by tracking her macros. My son did it just from sheer willpower. And like, I'm not eating that. I'm going to work out like 9 hours a day. That's great. But my daughter is a gym rat now. But I've watched her. She tracks her macros like it is religion,
Yeah.
and I've watched it transform her mind, her confidence, her body. I think she'll end up being a coach, like like you,
Hmm.
and the team do. I think she'll end up coach. She's already got young kids in their early 20s coming to
Cool.
her going, "How are you doing that?" She's like,
Yeah.
"Well, this is what I'm doing, but I can't really. I don't want to be anything
Yeah.
official because I'm just all I can do is tell you what I'm doing." But to kind of support what you're saying, I have watched it affect everything around her, not just how she physically looks, which is great. But it's when you watch people go through that transformation and all the light bulbs go off, it's very
Yeah.
rewarding, I would imagine.
Because all of a sudden she has some sort of a routine, right?
Mm, yep.
That's what basically comes down to it. And even though, like I said, like you can basically eat whatever, counting macros in a way is still a form of control, right? Every single person or most people that we basically start with, like we have what we call an intake week, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So when they start with us, they go through a week of tracking basically their diet, not changing anything because we want to see what the food or what their food had looked like to this point, right?
Hmm.
And even that intake week, like that first week, it starts light bulbs because people tell you like, I'm not eating that much, or I don't know why I'm not losing weight or whatever. But just putting those numbers like in front of them and showing them, hey, this is what you're eating or not eating, it just brings up light
Okay.
bulbs and they're like, oh, right.
Well, okay. So to your point, I tell people because I do sales and business coaching, I
Yeah.
tell people they don't track their time. So we track calories and we track money, but we don't track our habits and our time. To your point, though, tracking calories is not an effective way. I've watched people cut down to 1,000 calories a day and gain weight because their body's like, well, they go into survival mode, and their body's like, well, we're going to trap every calorie possible because apparently there's an apocalypse and Clint's not eating right now. But I want to say two things. A quick shout out to Joey Lee, who said you guys are awesome. I think
Oh, Joey, I miss
Joey's
you.
awesome. Yeah. So I just wanted to say this. I went through the intake week 2 or 3 years ago, and here's the two things that suck about intake stuff. First, tracking if you were my coach and I would have said to you, well, I'm not eating that much, and I'm not. As soon as you tell me to track it, I know everything I've said is a lie. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it because I don't want to say it out loud that I eat a dozen donuts on the way home every night. I don't want to say it because then I have to own it. When you start tracking it, the two things that I realized, one is, as especially a dude, everybody can get mad at me. I'm sorry, but I thought I love meat. I'm getting all my
Mhm.
protein. No, protein is hell to get
Yes.
in. My daughter, I bought this thing called Gatorade. It's got no sugar. It's called protein water. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's got
I've seen it. I
10
actually seen
grams
it.
of
Someone
protein.
posted it. And I'm like, Gatorade with protein. That's
Yes.
pretty cool. That's
And
smart.
and no sugar, so it doesn't have the bad
Uh-huh.
stuff. So I do a shake in the morning and a shake at night. So I'm getting 20 grams of protein right there in the morning and the evening. The second thing that sucks, other than not realizing I'm getting enough protein, is the fact that you make me take a picture. And I remember I told Chas, I'm like, okay, let me get in shape and then I'll take my before
Then we'll
picture. I'll
take
send it
it.
to you after I've got my abs back. Dadgummit.
Yeah.
That's painful.
Yeah, it is. But it works because
Yes,
like
it does.
everyone is like hyper focused on that number on the scale, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just about that, because what can happen is like for a week or a couple of weeks, and I actually have a client right now that we go through something that's called reverse diet, which is like what you said, not eating, or people are, chronically under eating, so we kind of need to recover their metabolism so it works more efficiently. But she's basically going through this process of continuously eating more and more. She hasn't lost a pound, right? But she went from, I think, extra large or large size clothes down to medium. Like if you
Mm.
look at her pictures from like week 1 to now, that's a different person. And we haven't even started a diet phase yet. Like we're actually just feeding her more food.
Yeah, she's gonna hate you when you start that other phase, though. You know that.
Oh, depends. Like I said, it can be done in a really, really smart way. It doesn't have to be
Well,
painful.
here's the thing, though, that I found. I don't. You may not like something till you start seeing the results. Results are a
Hmm.
motivation of themselves. You may this sucks, and all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're like, it doesn't suck
It's
that
actually
bad.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not wearing
I
a
always
shirt.
say this because I do have a few clients. Not everyone wants to lose weight.
Yeah.
There are a few that want to gain. I will tell you, I'll be the first to tell you that sucks. Like everyone thinks that eating less or dieting is the hard part. Have you ever tried actually gaining weight in a right way and eating way more that you want?
Okay, so you added. There's a little phrase you snuck in there because you
Yep.
coaches are slippery creatures, and it's the the right way. Gain weight the right way. I've gained weight, and then when you throw
Yes.
the right way in there, all of a sudden I'm like, now that's going to be difficult because that's going to be very food specific and time specific and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and like everyone, obviously, if you know your hunger cues, right? Like you eat a certain way and you're one of those people that are like, oh, I'm full, so I'm done. I'm not eating anymore, or can't force myself to eat anymore.
Mm,
That's hard. Like
yeah.
I've been through it, like eating 3,000 or 3,200 calories a day while you only want to eat like 2,800. It sucks. That's painful.
Yeah.
That's just,
Well, anytime you start forcing yourself out of your comfort
yeah.
zone, whether it's to lose the weight because I built habits around it or gain the weight and I built habits around that where I'm at, once we start messing with our comfort zone,
Yeah.
whether it's around the food or relationships or just life, I am right now in the process of trying to. I'm older than you by quite a bit, and I've learned, and this is might be a nice segue into. I want to ask you about the power of goals, and we'll use your life as an example. So start getting your goals together.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've got arthritis and I've got all these chronic
Mm.
issues, but I'm trying to learn how to play the bass guitar. So I went and bought a bass
Oh,
guitar.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm learning that I don't have the dexterity in my hands.
Hmm.
And my buddy, I got one of the coolest dudes ever on planet Earth. He's gonna
Why
he
bass? Why not guitar?
for two or three reasons. First of all, I love jazz and blues.
Right.
So I love going to a jazz club by myself. I used to do this quite a bit. Twice a year, I would drive up to BB King's in Nashville. I would get a hotel across the street. I would walk over to BB King's. There's a little table in the back. I would tell the waiter, here's the tip. I'm not leaving for 4 or 5 hours. Bring me my bourbon and whatever. And I'm going to sit here and listen to just some best blues music on the planet.
That's awesome.
And I love the bass in that. I grew up loving the bass, and I think it's the one I've got. It's only a 4 stringer, so it's a little more,
Hmm.
hopefully, a little easier to navigate with my stupid, clumsy hands. Um, and so anyway, the reason I bring that up is it sucks. My buddy's saying, "Hey man, don't quit. You're going to be fine." Because I'm like, I want to smash the guitar half the day. But
Yeah.
putting something on the calendar like that, physically, because I'm doing the same things around the movement I'm doing, that's important. And I watch you and Renee, and I watch Chastity. I know she's doing the stuff with One Team or Team One, whatever it is. I can't remember. I had her on. I
Team
just
One
watched
Mile, I think.
Team 1 Mile. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had Mike on with me, so they were doing
Hmm.
good things in Florida. But I say all of that long way around the barn to come back to you. The power of setting goals in your personal life and then in life in general. Where are you on that? I watch you on. Sometimes I see you with dogs. Sometimes I see you traveling. Sometimes I see you throwing weights around. Do you intentionally put stuff on the calendar that makes you nervous and challenges yourself?
I think it's every time that I walk into the gym and I train like that. A lot of times, basically, like that's why I love weightlifting, right? Because it's
Mhm.
those little specific goals. Like you have a specific number in your brain that you want to hit. And that's what makes you basically go there every day and try and try and try again and realize every day how much you suck.
Well, but you do competitions, or at least you used to, didn't
Yeah.
you? Don't you
Yeah,
still do
I
that?
do. Yeah, I still
All right.
do. Yeah.
All right, because I didn't want to go up, get above my skis on this. Weren't you? Didn't you just do one kind of recently?
There was
I thought.
one a month ago. Yes, there was one about a
Okay,
month
good.
ago. It was actually a
I was
partner's.
stalking your page, getting ready for this
Yeah.
podcast. So if I was wrong, I'm going to feel creepy.
I
Like,
mean,
damn, Clint.
you're good because I'm actually not posting that much on my Instagram anymore. Like I kind of like,
Yeah.
put that on the sideline. But yes, I actually went to a partner's comp with my boyfriend last month. So yeah, we got a little bit. It was so much fun because weightlifting, a lot of times it's a very individual competition, right? You're there for yourself
Hmm.
or for a team, but still lifting for yourself. But this one was a lot of fun because like it was partners, it was pairs, and we basically were there in like a warm up room all the time together. So I was calling his numbers, he was kind of calling my numbers.
Oh,
So
that's
it
cool.
was a lot of like it was dynamic, and everyone enjoyed it. Like we really did.
All
It
right.
was
So I'll
really cool.
ask you about help talking to your clients about goals because I know you help them set goals, right? They'll say something
Yes.
and you help them set goals. But before we go down to the importance of them setting goals, when you were doing this with your boyfriend, um, does he have a? Is there a certain lift that he's better at? And in other words, do y'all feed off that, or do y'all do two separate lifts? Because I've worked out with people like that in the past, and they're either the same strengths I have, and so we were competing, or they're really suck at things I'm good at, and I'm always giving them hell.
Yeah, it's a really great dynamic because sometimes I'm better at something. So, for example, sometimes my snatches are better than his, and he's
Hmm.
struggling with his snatches. Recently, like my snatches were really, really bad. Like I was really feeling down because they just got messed up. It's getting better now, but his snatches just went, like he's hitting PRs and getting so much better. So it's like, yeah, when I'm seeing that, like I want that. He's also so much better with jerks. So like our cleans are pretty good, but he's just like great with jerks. So getting that bar overhead. So I've learned a lot. So we've kind of like rebuilt my jerk in that sense, or trying to rebuild it, which actually helped. So yeah, it's a really good dynamic in that sense.
And
Yeah.
it keeps it new and fresh. I mean, I hate to say
Yes.
this. I've been in the gym since I was 17, and that's almost 40 years ago. And or yeah, well, good lord, yeah, 40 years ago. It's jeez, I just had a little moment there on that. And so you got to find ways to keep it new and fresh, whether it's just personal stuff in the gym or you put those events on there. Talk real quick about the importance of helping your clients set goals because sometimes, and I would be guilty of this, I want to lose 100 pounds. I want to do it in a month, and I'm going to run a Spartan race. And you're like, okay, well, let's talk about some
Yeah.
reality, Mr. Powell.
So exactly, like the goals need to be specific, right? The 100 pounds is specific, but they also have to be real. Like,
Yeah.
can you actually lose 100 pounds in a month? You said, or whatever.
Yeah, in a healthy way.
Yeah, probably not. Like, let's actually break it down into like we call them islands, right? We call
Mm.
the goals islands. Um, so let's actually, before we get to that new big island, we kind of need to swim through and maybe like reroute to a different island before we can swim to the big one. And a lot of times you realize that along that way, like, yes, the big goal can change, which is completely fine. But also, like, people realize, like, okay, like, do I actually know what losing 100 pounds looks like? Like,
Mhm.
what am I going to look like losing those 100 pounds? They might realize that it's probably not what they want, and losing only 60 is actually giving them their body they want. So having that goal in their brain that's great, but let's actually, look at it in like a more real and a specific way, and actually look at some time frames that we can.
Yeah, I talk to my kids about this, and it's something I have to remind myself, and I'm not really good at it all the time. I'm not good at it as much as I want to be. To me, happy is a very temporary thing. I love being happy, but happy is something that's a moment thing. So I've tried to get myself to ask this question to my kids: am I living the life a healthy life? Because healthy leads to more moments of being happy. If I
Yeah,
just do what's happy in the moment, I'm going to have the donuts probably because I'm really happy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what
redefining
it.
terms.
Yeah, exactly. So having those like little partial goals there, it will keep you happy along the way, but still like keeping that big picture, in
Mhm.
your brain. So
How
yeah,
are you on meal prepping? Are you and I think I've asked you this before. Are you okay, well, for our
yeah.
non-video watching friends, I think she just shook me off like a third base coach. Like,
I'm
like
not meal prepping anymore. Like I
okay.
kind of, but I cook. So my situation is a little bit different because I stay
Right.
at home, right? So I don't need to meal prep. I have a fridge right here. So
Yeah.
whenever I'm hungry, I
Yeah.
just open it up and I'm just like, whatever is in there. But I do cook because I cook our meals. Like I live with my boyfriend, so I make our lunches most of the time. Like sometimes we go eat out, but yeah, I
All right.
I
What do you?
cook. But
Well, what do you cook at? What are your favorite meal to cook? If you were going to say,
whew,
"Hey, Clint, this is the Zoo's restaurant. This is my meal that represents me." What meal am I getting?
oh man,
What food am
I
I
would
getting?
probably make you my pulled pork.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, is it a
Like a
pulled pork with some barbecue? Is it a pulled pork with?
I make it in the oven. I don't have a barbecue, but I make
Oh,
my own sauce and I make it at least for like 6 hours.
now you got me a little hungry. See,
Yeah. With sweet potato fries, maybe some coleslaw on the side if you like that, but I would probably make that.
are you making a dessert too? Are you a dessert girl?
Not really. I'll buy a
No.
dessert.
What are you buying? What kind of dessert are you buying, my friend?
Cheesecake,
See,
cinnamon cheesecake this time.
I'm not a
I
cheesecake
know
person.
you're going for donuts, but
Well,
I'm just
donuts are
like,
good, but I've also my mom makes something called strawberry cookies. And all they are
oh,
these cool strawberry with this little white icing on it, and I get them about
oh,
3 or 4 times a year, special occasions, birthday, Christmas. We just had them a couple of months ago from the 4th of July, whatever, and they're just little nuggets of heaven,
oh, that
and,
sounds
oh,
nice.
they're so good.
Yeah.
God bless. Oh, and so I it's not a I mean, it's not a secret, but if you're ever have you ever made homemade donuts?
No, yeah, we did, we did. We
You
actually it's
drop them
like a
in the fryer?
traditional yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a traditional dessert around Easter, I think.
We
Yeah.
make them for, like, 2 or 3 times a year, my mom and we started doing it several years ago, but they're better than any donut you'll buy at a store.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
I
god.
mean, yes.
Yes, they are.
I last time I think I made them with my grandma. Like she made a dough and everything, and we would just like put them on in the fry them in the oil. Yeah,
Oh.
they're like and just literally sprinkle them with sugar, nothing else.
Oh, my mom
Or
makes a homemade glaze.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Or we put like a spoon of like a jam or something like that, strawberry or apricot. Yeah.
See, here's the thing I'm learning about countries outside the United States, and this is
Mhm.
true about everything. So it's not an insult. This is a compliment to your view of food. So if I order a meal at a restaurant here in the United States and there's that same restaurant in Europe, it's going to have so many ingredients in the United States that European countries do not use in a lot of the foods that you make because it's been out there like we're not putting that crap in our foods. They taste different. I've got friends that travel and they go, if you look on the back of boxes, there's stuff that's in the American food, like dozen ingredients. And we just look at food like, how can I make it worse but yet better?
I think these are still the same, the Sour Patch Kids.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably. They're
I think
probably the
they're
same.
still the same.
But I just think
Um,
the foods are the serving sizes I think are different. I think just the view of food in general is different around the world than the United States. We're like
yeah,
everything else, more is
serving
better.
size is definitely smaller. And like easiest way to compare McDonald's, because McDonald's is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, Coke there's so much more sugar in a Coke in America than here. Like Coke literally tastes different. Last time I had the soft serve ice cream, that's so much sweeter too. I was just
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
Sugar is I've learned this, and this is this is really relevant to what we're talking about. Sugar to me is the demon. Sugar is
Mm.
something that you can have some of. I mean, it's not something you should cut completely out, but that's where I screwed up the most, I think. When I eat a lot of sugar, my joints feel it within about 2 or 3 hours.
Oh yeah, they can.
Golly.
If you have to, like, again, anything like too much of anything is going to cause issues. Too much of anything for sure. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you have a lot of sugar in your soft drinks, if you have a lot of sugar in your candy or your ice cream, and having all that in one day, because that's what people do,
that's right.
that's going to mess things up.
All right, can I ask you just some kind of fast moving ones here?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Do you have a new favorite exercise right now? Because a lot of times these change. At least in my life, I've gone from liking one to another. What's your favorite
um,
exercise in this moment?
I think last time we spoke, we said I think power cleans,
Uh huh.
but I think I'm improved in my cleans recently, so I just enjoy doing them.
Okay.
Like squat
What's
cleans.
okay? How about your favorite protein right now? Where's your source of protein? If you need to hit protein for the day, what are you going to?
Mostly meat. I kind of got off of protein shakes a little bit because
Hmm.
they just don't taste good anymore after
Is
so
it
many
just
years.
specific meat? Is it or just meat in general? Or
Meat
do you
in
like a
general. Yeah, I'll
okay?
go for meat in general.
I think you might have answered it. Your favorite cheat meal that changes too.
That
Sometimes mine's donuts
changes.
and
Recently, what is it recently? Oh man. Oh, chocolate probably. Yeah, I've been craving chocolate a lot lately.
okay. Have you ever tried do you do ice baths? How do you recover?
I don't. Where do you have that from?
What? You never done an ice
Mm.
bath?
Well, I've done
Cryotherapy?
it, but I don't do it regularly.
Okay, I didn't know a lot of people. I've got friends here that they do the ice bath 4 days a week.
I don't even
Basically.
have a bath in this flat.
Oh well, see, do you have to? Where do you? So do you have a cryo place over there where you do cryotherapy?
Yeah, there's one not far, but I've actually never been. But I've done an ice bath while I still lived at my parents' place. It's just in case when my legs are super sore, like literally to a point it hurts to walk.
Hmm.
That's very helpful. Like it actually makes me feel so much better afterwards.
Do you have a recovery? What do you do for recovery? I mean, you're athlete. You're an athlete. You work out all the time. What do you have
Yeah.
a routine around that?
I stretch. I use, do you know Compex? It's
Mm-mm.
like the electrodes that you put on.
Oh,
Yeah, basically gives you massage. Physio. Yeah. I've been
never heard of
actually
that.
pretty bad about physio recently,
What
but
is
yeah.
physio? Same thing.
Oh, yeah, like physiotherapy.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they basically just take care of the niggles if you have any. But I've been pretty good with my body. Like it just gets sore. So like movement really helps with that.
Um, yeah, I said this to a friend of mine the other day. I would, if I were to give a 20-year-old advice that's an athlete or really pushing their bodies, doing crazy stuff. The first thing that I would tell them to not stop doing is stretching. I stopped stretching about 15 years ago, and it was probably because I was used to be very flexible, and it has probably cost me more injury and pain than anything else.
I would say like you need like quote unquote, as much as I don't like the word, but functional mobility,
Why
right?
do you not like the word? What do you?
Because
Why?
everyone puts functional everywhere and it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
why is everything functional?
Yeah, I get
But
it.
so I try to avoid it as much as I can, but in this context it does make sense. So you're basically are trying to be mobile, and because too much mobility as well, like hypermobile people, they have their own issues.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, again, back to too much of anything can cause
Little
issues,
things. I
but
hate to say this, picking something up off the floor, being
yes.
able to keep your balance when you're carrying something up steps.
Mm,
Keep and I actually told maybe it was my daughter from the knees to the belly button that those hips and lower back is where so much stress is carried and
yeah.
I've lost so much mobility. And what I didn't understand, dear coach, which you already know, is if I'm super tight in my hips and my butt and my back, I may not do anything different, but my knees and my upper, everything starts contracting and
Mm,
compensating. And next thing you know, I've got pain in my calf that when you touch it, my shoulder hurts. And I'm like, how in the hell is that
yeah.
connected?
It's like this whole system just goes like that's the thing as well. Like I coach basketball team. Like I got basketball players. I like coach a professional basketball team. I don't know
Look
if we
at you. I
ever
didn't
talked
know
about
that.
this. Oh, cool. Yeah, we can talk about it just in a sec. But
Yeah.
basically, like sometimes they have niggles. Most often, obviously, the usual basketball stuff like ankles and stuff. But sometimes they're like, oh, lower back. But the problem usually is not your lower back; it's around your hips. So as
Mm-hmm.
soon as your hips tighten up, like it goes up the chain or down the chain. So yeah, keeping the whole system kind of. Ugh,
You've said
it,
something twice. I don't know what it is. Niggles?
you've never heard niggles?
I am 55 years old, closer to 56. I have never, it sounds like a
Really?
cartoon character. Yeah, I don't know what a niggles is.
Maybe that's from like the Aussie English that I brought. I don't
What does
know.
that mean? Just
Pains and niggles.
pains.
Like when you
Okay. Yeah.
pains and
Pain
niggles.
spots.
Like,
I'm going to
yeah.
start using it just to mess with people, though. I'll sound professional.
Yeah.
I like
Go
it.
for it.
I kind of
Go for
knew
it.
kind of what you were referring to. I'm like, I don't know what that
I
is.
taught you a new word.
You
And
have.
English is
I
not even my first language.
don't send me an invoice for this, dadgummit. That's not. So you coach, you help with a basketball team.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
know that.
this is my fourth season or third season, actually, fourth season.
Okay.
I'm just their strength and conditioning coach.
I can see
It's
that.
part time mostly. I mean, we're in preseason now, so obviously there's a lot more training during the season, not that much. But yeah, a professional basketball team, I think, and a top team in the country as well. So yeah.
So tell me this: what's your approach to that? Do you give each player their own like unique approach? Is it a general overall thing? What do you do?
Yeah, it's a general thing. So I get them usually in the last couple of years, it's been only like 4 weeks before the season starts.
Mm,
So I can't really do much. So it's just like a general basically strength. And a lot of them are already working with their own,
yeah,
PTs before they come to us. So it's just their general strength and keeping them healthy. If they have any specific individual issues, yeah, we can work around that, and the program gets adjusted. But generally, they're all doing basically the same thing.
good for
A
you. I
lot of
had no
times.
idea. That's killer.
Yeah.
Um, Back to the questions. Are you a routine person, morning and evenings? Do you have a set routine? Are you a very regimented person?
In a way, in a way, like probably not as much as I was because I don't have to go to work in the morning. But yeah, I have my coffee in the morning. Like that has to be the thing.
Do
Like
you put anything in your
recently,
coffee?
no, just
Okay.
black. Yeah. Recently, my routine's been like I have oatmeal with some berries and nuts and a protein shake for breakfast. Like that's been my go-to for a long, long time. So yeah, you can say that's the routine. And then depending on the day, but mostly I train at like 10, 11 o'clock. But the
Do you
rest of
like
it,
working from home?
yes, I do.
Do you?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
that
I enjoy
start
it.
before or during COVID and come through it, or has that been on and off for years? How did you make that transition over to that permanently?
As soon as we started with the FLA, like that's always been from
Well,
home.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like talking to people online, like, yeah, you're not going into the office. Yeah.
No.
So,
All right. Any new music? You got anything new downloaded in your whatever listening stuff or
no,
no?
I'm really honestly like, I, there were so many concerts that I used to go to, and that was before COVID. Like I was always at a show.
Yeah.
And ever since that happened, many of them got canceled. Even after COVID, many of them got canceled. It's just, yeah, like I was following music, but it kind of got
My
I
brain
got
changed.
sidetracked.
Brain changed a little bit. I've never. I mean, I don't mind crowds. I've been
Mhm.
around. I mean, um, but I don't know if I think a lot of people's brains changed a little bit, and I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but I just don't seek out crowds as much as I used to.
Mm.
I did that change for you at all, or is that not anything to do with it?
Yeah, I've never really I've never really went to concerts for crowds. Like I couldn't care less, right? It
Mhm.
was just like I go to see a specific band or a singer, and in that case, like I don't really care. I think the last concert that I booked, I think I'm going to see Queens of Stone Age in Germany in a few months. But I don't know if that again, like I'm not keeping my hopes up because the concerts that I booked, they get
Get
canceled
canceled.
for just weird reasons. I mean, I had Foo Fighters and their drummer died, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. All right, 3 more questions. One is you came to the United States, you went to Waffle House. Did you like it? What did you do you remember what you had here at the Waffle House?
A waffle.
Well, thank you. Well, they're known for like their all-star. They got certain breakfasts. I said
Yeah,
this to you before we came on. You went during the day, like in normal business hours, in order to get the
exactly.
full Waffle House experience. And also the city you're going to the Waffle House in matters.
Mm.
If you're going to go to a Waffle House, pick the right city, and also go sometime between 11 at night and 2 or 3 in the morning. That's the best people watching place. Just I'm just throwing it out there for
Yeah,
you if you come back.
I think this is something that I'm gonna have to do once I'm there again. But yeah, I've heard about that. Like Waffle House that has a character for sure.
Oh golly, it's just I just some of the best stories of my entire life have started at Waffle House. Life in Slovakia, and then I've got one last question after this one. Last time we spoke, or at least one of the last 2 or 3 times we spoke, there's some conflict going on near your country.
Yeah.
And I was just going to ask, are you okay? Is everything fine? Has it become like a new normal? Is it still very scary? Or is that one of the things you'd rather not talk about, which I'm fine with? I'm okay with you not saying anything.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about
Yeah.
anything, but it's I would say it became a new normal,
Mm,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But I mean, we are not directly affected, right? So I'm not the one to really
Well, I
talk
just know it
about.
borders there. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if you were starting
Like
to hear
we
any
were
rumors. Yeah.
affected at the beginning with when people started fleeing,
Hmm.
right? But I think in a way, just like with everything, it got very political.
Hmm. Oh
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it's very similar with you guys, where
Oh.
like we're fighting about are we going to support or are we not going to support? Well, so
Isn't
in
that
that sense,
weird?
I just don't get it, honestly.
I don't understand how we as whether it's an American thing or not. I don't I said this, and I'll take you off the hook, so you don't have to say
Mm,
anything about it if you want to. I'm fine. I do
no, I'm
podcasts for a
good.
living. People can not like me if they want to.
Yeah, I'm good.
I am I have just been so disappointed the last 4 or 5 years to watch people that I grew up with, neighbors, because we disagree on something. We have to air quote not like each other anymore. And I'm like,
Oh, it's so
I don't
bad.
I don't get it. I
It's
don't
so
get it.
very, very bad. And I don't know if it just happened recently or it's always been like that. I don't know. But we have pretty big elections coming up in a month, like end of September. Very, very important. And the way people can just literally turn on each other for just like a different opinion,
Mm.
and actually get aggressive.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like we had one of the biggest things that happened here, like one journalist got killed, obviously for multiple reasons. Yeah, and there was an incident I think it was like a gay bar as well,
Yeah.
because like homosexuals and gay people started being a big news and for whatever reason, right? You
Yeah.
can't just let them be. So,
No.
and that turns people on, like you start talking about that stuff and people just like catch a whiff and they just go on. It just snowballs. So it's very unfortunate. And same thing with this Ukraine situation. Like, and a lot of it, unfortunately, comes from people not being happy with their own lives and they need to just find someone else to blame for it. So,
I've learned this a long time ago. I think 2 things have happened since I have and it's just since the invention of social media.
mhm.
It's got me very comfortable saying something about my friend Zuz that I would never say to her in person, right?
Yeah.
I will be happy to post this meme that calls anybody that believes different than me a certain name, even though I'm friends with people that believe that. I know I don't believe that at my heart, but it's going to get a bunch of people to like the meme.
Yeah.
So I'm going to feel good about myself. And if I was in front of my friends, you'd be like, really, dude? I'd be like, well, no, not you. Well, quit being an asshole then, and just we quit being able to talk to people as people one on one.
Mm,
That's the first thing. And second thing is, I am convinced um, that we would go a long way if before we say anything or post anything, we just slow down and just think of what am I going to do if I run into these people in the real world?
yeah.
Um, I had a rant. I mean, I went on a pretty good rant because I had a conversation with a friend of mine a year or two ago. Well, no, it wasn't. It was, golly, 3 years ago. It was in the middle of COVID now. Well, it seems like COVID was last year. I always talk about
Oh
last year.
yeah.
COVID was 3 years ago now. And but they said something like, it was an American thing, but if you've not been vaccinated, you shouldn't be able to go to the hospitals. And I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, my ex-wife works in the health industry. I've been vaccinated because I've got some issues, but my kids have blah, blah, blah. In other words, I said, so you're saying my 20-something-year-old son that you known shouldn't be able to go to the hospital? Well, no, man. I said, well, then take that. Stop doing
Yeah.
that. That
Yeah.
that takes the human element out of it, man. You just made me a number. And he was to his credit, he was like, hey, I get it.
Yeah. Like light bulb just yeah, there was a light bulb. He's like,
Uh,
"Oh, yeah, I probably didn't think this through."
yeah, because
It's
you got
like
friends that disagree with you,
yeah,
man.
exactly. And people love taking things to extremes recently, right? Like
Yeah.
be left, be right. I don't really care. But there's extreme on one side, there's extreme on the other side. And
Ugh.
we can meet somewhere in the middle, like we can still be friends,
If the
right?
people in the middle would just tell the people on the far edge to shut the hell up and just
Yeah.
go, hey, you know what? That's
Because
what I
it's
saw.
just those that are the loudest, like, right? Like those people that are just like maybe leaning to one side, they're just like, okay, like we can talk this through.
And
But
go
the
have a
loudest
beer.
ones are, yeah, the loudest ones are, it's
I
just,
asked somebody this, and then we'll move on to the last fun question. I asked somebody this. I said, when your car breaks down in the middle of the road and a bunch of people jump out to help push it, because that happens all the time, right? I've done it.
Mhm.
Do you ever stop them? Hey, whoa, before you help me, I need to know your view on abortion and who you voted for.
Yeah,
No, nobody does that. And
nobody
that's
does
kind of
that.
how we're supposed to do. I, you,
Yeah,
I just don't get as human beings. We've
yeah.
removed the human part and we're just beings now. And I'm like,
Just
that's not a cool
whatever
thing.
happened to having a discussion, like,
Yes.
and not like fully trying to convince, like, I'm not trying to convince you. Let's just discuss this over. You can keep your own opinion. I'll keep mine. Let's just like, because
Yeah.
both sides have their pros and cons, understandable and logical. It's just, this is my side of point of view. This is your point of view. Sweet. Okay. We move
Now
on. Off we go.
let's talk. Let's go do something we have in common. We all love our
Yeah.
families. We all love our friends, and
Yeah.
we all want to, be able
Exactly.
to eat 3,000 calories a day and not gain weight. We all want that. All right,
Yeah.
last question for you to make it fun. We've talked
Okay.
about this several times. I did not know you had read the books.
Yep.
So you read the Game of Thrones books, or did you read The Last Kingdom?
I read The Last Kingdom. Yeah.
Okay, because the reason I bring that up for people just listening, I said this a long time ago, and you chimed in on social media, made me happy. I think The Last Kingdom is as good. It's not as dramatic. The cinematography's doesn't have dragons. I think it's as good to me though as Game of Thrones, and I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
I would say it was so much better.
It's so good. Did you like the last
Yeah.
season?
You mean the movie?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's the one at the
Yeah,
end.
the last, yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I did.
Okay.
Like it I felt that it was just like sped up a little bit too much. It
Yeah.
probably was supposed to be at least two. Uh but it was still good. Like there was a good ending to it. It was not like, Game of Thrones. Everyone was disappointed with the ending of Game of Thrones, but this
Yeah.
was like, okay, everyone got their own story. Everyone got, we know what happened. We're
And it
good.
did
We
end
can
up good
we
with
can
him.
let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reading the books though, did you find it did it help you enjoy the viewing process more, or did you like the books way more? How was your response?
So a lot of times, like the adaptation of book into the movies or TV shows is crap. Let's just face it, and
Yeah.
let's just put it that way. But this one, even though even the books in some cases were a little bit different. So some characters didn't get as much time or as much development like they did, for example, in a show, and vice versa. It was still good in its own way. Like I really enjoyed reading it, and it is 13 books. Like it took me a
And you
long
read them
time.
all?
Yes.
Okay, so wait, hold on a second. So let me ask you this, because most of the time, so did watching it first help with the books? Did it help you understand it much quicker? Was it
A
good for
little
you?
bit. I would say a little bit because I knew what to expect.
Hmm.
But then like some things in the books were like they were a little bit different in the TV show because you just kind of have to make it work for TV, which I
Well, you have more
understand. But
time there. Yeah.
yeah, but it was done in a good way, right? It was like for a purpose of the story, the change of the story was done in a really good way. It worked in the book, but it probably wouldn't have worked in a show. So, yeah.
Did you watch? So you're a Game of Thrones fan too, though, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit,
Well,
yeah.
did you watch the sequel prequel that came afterwards, the House of the
No,
Dragon?
I didn't. Because
Uh,
I watched the Lord of the Rings one and I was very disappointed. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna watch these, like
all right.
prequels, sequels that they're just trying to milk the stories. I'm just
They are
gonna,
trying to milk it.
yeah.
It took me, just be honest with you, I watched the first episode, half of it, 3 times before I forced
Mm,
myself. Now I've watched the whole season. It's actually pretty good.
okay.
It's not great. It's not Game of Thrones in my mind yet, because I watched 8 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Right.
But in my brain, in my little pea brain, I really was disappointed. If they would have done a next generation of Game of Thrones, even though it ended horribly, I thought the series, they could have saved it. I think if they would have taken the journeys that the 3 Starks at the end, and they could have had each of them have their own little a
Right.
season. I really would have been intrigued. What happened when Jon Snow went down into the
Yeah.
beyond the wall? What
The
happened?
worst thing
Yeah.
is like because I read the books, but it was
Oh, I
a
didn't know
really,
that.
really long time ago.
Yeah.
And honestly, I probably can't remember much. But what I remember as well is like they've changed a lot of things from the books to, and also I understand it's very hard to probably finish a story if the books haven't been written yet.
Mhm.
Right. So I mean,
Yeah.
they probably had it much harder than that. But I'm gonna, since we're talking about fantasy stuff,
Yeah,
what
please.
have you watched The Witcher?
Okay. I need your help with
The,
this one.
yes.
I
Okay.
have, but well, you go ahead and say what you got to say. Then I'll give you I need help, but go ahead.
Yeah. Background, right? Big fan of the game. That's how I got introduced into the world of The Witcher. Then started the books, which were great. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of like Slavic folklore, so our folklore. So it does make a lot of sense. So a lot of, all the creatures and everything, names and stuff does make sense. Now they took it all and they butchered it.
You talk about taking a different path. I think me and you should start doing a monthly podcast
I
on
know.
this stuff, because
Okay.
this is the fun stuff. Yeah, how much is your
I'm
diet?
happy to
Screw
do
the diet. The Witcher sucks.
that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So,
what sucks? Okay, here's my problem with it.
mm,
I find it hard to keep up with a storyline. I,
yeah,
I because they reference people who either not been really fully developed yet. So I don't know,
that's
and
exactly the problem that I wanted to mention, right? Because I
I
have a
don't.
background.
Yeah.
I have the books and I have the game, which is kind of like continuing of the books in a way. So I know the characters. But in the story, so in the Netflix show, like they literally all of a sudden a character that was just mentioned in one conversation turns out to be this important character. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to a person that has never had any contact with the world. So this is the same with my parents. Like they haven't read the books, they haven't watched, they haven't played the game, so they are confused. They're like, who are these
Yes.
people?
I don't know who
And
they are. They've not developed
yeah,
any of the characters. And I love what's his name, the actor of Superman.
Henry Cavill,
I like him. I think he's probably
love
built
him.
physically as I mean, he's probably the
He's
perfect
literally,
guy.
if you look at the character of the game as well, and how
Mhm.
probably he's probably a little bit broader than he's supposed to be, but whatever.
Well, that's the way I
But
feel
he,
about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was built to play Conan the Barbarian. That dude
mm,
looked just like Conan the
yeah,
Barbarian in my
yeah,
brain because
yeah.
I read those as a kid. But here's my problem. I love him, but sometimes his voice when he focuses like I can't. It gets. I'm
See,
like,
this is
dude.
the thing. He's supposed to be like that. He's
Okay.
like that in the books. He's like that in the
Is
games.
he
Like that's
really?
how that's how they're portrayed. Like even if you read the books, you're not going to get too many conversation out of the Witcher because he's just known to be really like quiet and to the point, and just like, right, he has this really low voice, and his like that's his
Mm.
character trait basically. So
I
this
think I could
is
deal with that if I knew the characters. To your point,
yeah,
I just
yeah.
don't know
So
the plot.
that's the whole, and he's like Henry Cavill was a big fan of the books and especially the games as well. So he literally took that character that was already written and done and brought it to the show. And that's, and they didn't really work with him.
Plus, they also have how many seasons and different offshoots of The Witcher? It's like there's something new with The Witcher coming out. If I go to Netflix right now, I'm going to have 3 or 4 different Witcher things to watch.
Yeah, there's 3 seasons, and there was one, like, a prequel that didn't work at all. It just didn't make any sense, in the world of The Witcher, so I don't know, like, that was not written, that was not in the books or in the games or anything, so it's just its own thing.
Have you ever read Conan the Barbarians?
No, I actually haven't read that, but now that you say it,
There's
I'm gonna
there's
do that.
there's probably 50 paperback books that I read as a kid of Conan the
Oh,
Barbarian.
really?
Oh
Okay,
yeah, and he is. And
cool.
once you read the paperback books, and then you see Arnold. I mean, if you look at the cover of any paperback book of Conan from the 60s or 70s or 80s,
Yeah,
it looks
like
exactly.
Arnold.
You're like, oh my god, they found Conan.
Yeah,
How did they do that?
yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's another. You're a Lord of the Rings person too.
I like, yeah, I love the movies.
I did
This
too.
is the instance where I love the movies more than I like the books. It's probably because the when I read the books, that was very long time ago. I was a teenager and it just didn't work for me.
Hmm.
But the movies, like we every now and then we put on The Lord of the Rings and just watch it all over again because it's just so good.
How about Hobbit? The Hobbit books.
I didn't enjoy it that
Me
much.
neither.
No.
Yeah, me
Again,
neither.
same thing. Like you get the trilogy, the original, and anything after that is never going to work as good as,
All
yeah,
right.
no.
How about Harry Potter? My last one. I've never watched a Harry Potter movie in my entire life.
I have,
Mm.
but I just didn't watch them all because I got books in my brain and I just didn't want to spoil it anymore.
Oh, so you've read that one too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the books. I remember reading the first one when it came out. I actually got translated into Slovak, and secretly reading it under the cover as well when I was supposed to sleep.
Oh, with the
So I was
flashlight?
reading it with a like lit a flashlight and reading it. And the last one came out, when I actually years back when we flew to the States because I have family in Trenton, and we came to visit them, and in Jersey. And the first, basically, our trip, we landed. They picked us up at the airport, and it was the night of the release of the books. They drove us to the. Oh, what was the name of the bookstore? That kind of. I think
There's
they're
a
not
Barnes and
any.
Noble. There's
No,
a
I think they're
Books
closed
a
down
Million.
now.
Books a
They're closed
Million.
down
Oh,
now.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they exist anymore. But basically, they drove us to the store,
Yeah.
got the book. It was awesome. Like one of my first that I read in English. And I remember being so tired that I fell asleep in the bookstore
Yeah.
because we were so jet lagged.
Right.
So, yeah,
You
I got
posted
the book.
you posted
Yeah.
something, speaking of English, you posted something about a dog, and I said, "I don't know what you're saying, but that's a cute dog." Because you posted it in I'm like, "I don't know what that is, but it can't
I
be
usually
bad."
post captions in English, but some things just don't work. and they
Right.
can't be translated. So if I just can't do it and it doesn't work in English, I'll just leave it the way it is.
Hey, real quick before I leave, you've got I just saw a tattoo on your arm, on the inside of your arm.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that what is that? Is
Uh,
that an eagle or a hawk
it's
or
a
a?
hawk.
Okay.
Remember how I said the drummer of Foo Fighters died?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, now
Got
it
it in
makes sense.
December.
At
Yeah.
first, when you were talking, I got a glimpse, and I thought, "Is that the Batman symbol? Does she have what is there another movie we gotta
Why don't
talk
you have a
about?
Batman
Are
tattoo?
you what the holy shit, that's ama so are you a Batman fan?
Yeah.
Okay, do you watch
Nolan's
the
movies? Yeah,
huh?
100%.
Yeah, the Batman movie. Do you have a favorite Batman? Like, who the character, the actor? There's been so many people play
I
Batman.
love Nolan's movies. I haven't seen the recent one, the latest
Okay,
one.
okay.
So Christian Bale, yeah,
Christian Bale,
that's
yeah.
like, yeah, I think they were done the best, but I haven't seen the latest one with
Uh
what's his name, the Twilight guy.
I don't. I'm determined now that they
Yeah,
can pick a Batman. I'm not watching anything anymore. I
yeah,
mean, I'm
I don't
done.
think it's gonna get any better than
No.
the Nolan stuff. So I'm just like, nah.
Are you this is we got to do a movie one. We should start
I
doing movies
know.
and
I'm
TV
happy to do
because
that.
this would
It'll
be
make me
fun.
watch movies because I just
Are you a
stopped doing
James
that.
Bond fan?
In a way,
Uh-oh.
which ones?
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. If you're a James Bond fan, do you have a favorite James Bond?
It was always Sean Connery.
Thank you. Okay. See, I thank you. We agree. The second close runner up, I like the one now. I think he's really
I
really
don't.
good. Oh, you
I don't.
don't?
No, I don't really enjoy. I don't like him as an actor. I mean, I might be one of the few, but he just really nah. He just
Do
not
you
doing
have
it
an
for
idea
me.
on who should do it? Do you have a thought on that?
I mean,
Who
there
should?
were a few people in right. They were talking about Henry Cavill, the Witcher guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had a really great audition. Um, what's his other name?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
God.
Yeah,
Are
that
you a
would be
Peaky Blinders
awesome.
fan? We've talked about
Oh
this.
yeah.
That's just
Yes.
Peaky Blinders to me is one of the all-time.
I've watched it
I,
3 times.
I've watched
I've
it.
watched
Yeah.
and, like, the Tom Hardy parts, they're just my favorite, and I can just repeat them over and
And
over
to
and
know in
over.
real life he's a jujitsu badass just
Yeah.
makes it that much better. I'm
Have you
like,
ever seen him reading, bedtime stories for kids?
no,
Oh my
no.
god, it's like the best thing. He has this thing, it's on Instagram, I'll find it
Is
and
it
I'll
for
send it to
real?
you.
I mean, is he
Yes.
really?
Yes.
No.
He's reading bedtime
He's
stories, and it's
vain.
perfect. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Okay, so the other guy was the African American guy. Isso
Idris
Elba.
Elba.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I
would have
think
been a
that would
good
be
one.
cool as well.
I think he'd been
Yeah.
great. He's got the accent. He's a good
Yeah.
looking dude. He's fit.
Yeah.
Him and Tom Hardy. I would have voted for Tom Hardy. I think the
Yeah.
Witcher guy is just as where people can hate me. I think he's too big. James
He
Bond
doesn't
is.
he's not always too big. Like, if you see him
He'd have
too
to
big
lose
because
some
he was
weight.
Superman,
Yeah,
right?
and he's
And
in
he
The
was
Witcher. He's
pretty big
jacked.
for Witcher, plus it's probably the suit that he wore, but there was a movie that he wasn't what was the name? He played like a secret agent as well, and he
Oh,
wasn't that big. Like, he was wearing a suit and was okay.
because
Like,
you want to fit in a little bit. You don't want to stand out as the
yeah,
jack dude that's
yeah,
always
yeah.
swolt over
I
there in
think
the
he was
corner.
in Mission Impossible as well.
He
He had
was.
the weird mustache. He wasn't that big back then, I don't think.
Yeah, do you remember the horror and they screwed up the DC movies so much.
Mm.
But do you remember when they superimposed his mouth at the beginning
Yes.
of the movie because he had a
Becau
beard or something in another movie? And I'm like, as soon as that was the first thing on the
Yeah.
screen, and I'm like, I'm not gonna like the movie
You're
now.
done.
I'm
Yeah.
not liking the movie. That's so bad.
Yeah, I remember that because he had the mustache for the Tom Cruise movie, and it was just like, man,
Really?
what are you
We can
guys
create
doing?
dragons that fly through the air, and you can't do a better. It looked like one of those where the mouth is. Hello, Zeus.
Yeah.
Stupid. All right, so
Stupid.
here's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna do. I'm gonna let
exactly.
you go. I thought weed do 30 to 40 minutes. We're an hour and 4 minutes.
No, I mean, it's too good to talk to you, so it's like we just keep going.
All right, so here's what I want to do though. About every couple of months, we can talk fitness and stuff. I want to start doing this. Would be fun. Let's send each other a movie or a TV show to watch,
Okay.
and we'll come
Yeah.
on and we'll do a quick. This is
Like a
thumbs up or
review.
thumbs down. I think it would be fascinating.
Yeah, sweet. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, we just have
I'm
to get
happy
our
to.
what day you're in and what day I'm in for that time
Yeah.
travel stuff together.
Yeah. No, it's fine. We
All
can
right.
find
So
time.
let's end it with a serious note. If somebody watches the first half of this and goes, I really want someone to help walk me through getting a healthy perspective around my food and my time and my habits, how do they get a hold of FLA movement and talk with you or Chastity?
So the best way is to go to flamovement.com, fill out a form, and then basically get into contact, or any form of social media works. Like our Instagrams, FLA Movement Instagram, my Instagram, Zuz the Coach, Chastity FLA Movement Instagram, or even like Facebook pages. But the best way to get a form, fill out the form, is probably the flamovement.com.
And if somebody hears this and says, didn't remember any of it, just reach out to me and I'll be happy to connect you with Chastity and she can forward it to everybody.
Exactly.
I
100%.
hope you stay happy and healthy. And I look forward to talking to you next time, though. But we're going to talk about TV or movies or something.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm so
All right.
excited for that.
You have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.